Quilt people, how's everybody? I'm doing much better today. Sorry about that. I don't know. It's just a lot of craziness going on right now, and when people, have a hard time respecting others, it really makes me crazy, especially around racism and things like that. It's funny, like, racism actually makes me more crazy than homophobia. Like, I personally deal with homophobia a lot, right? And, like, just simple things like trying to get a wedding photographer. We had to call around several times, and there were people who just were not willing to photograph John and I's wedding, and we deal with that, you know, I wouldn't say on a weekly basis, but probably on a monthly basis. There are just some people who just don't want to engage with us. And, that's fine. And I think because the racism question has been, just dealt with for so long, and anyhow, it makes me crazy. So if I've been really emotional, sorry, but, I'm never going to, actually, yeah, I'm not sorry, because I'm never going to apologize for empathy, and I do feel for others. I think quilters in general, we're, like I've said before, natural healers. We're people who want to bring hugs into the real world, right? And make things that we can wrap up people and, help them feel loved. So, today, we're doing something that is just kind of a tip, right? More than a full tutorial. But as I've been going through all of this, and oh my gosh, my studio is such a mess right now, but I'm in creation mode, right? And so that's part of the fun of creation mode. You just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. So, but this is what I've been kind of working with and dealing with. And I wanted to show you this little tip in case you've ever had a problem piecing things at an angle, right? How do you get them to line up? Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, let's say that you want to piece these two together, right, with an angle, and to make it even more complicated, let's say that there's a stripe running through the middle of these two pieces that you want to line up. So, what a lot of people are going to be tempted to do is just put these together, right, corner to corner, and then sew it, right? That doesn't work. Let me show you really quick. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Let's put this pin in here for where the seam would be, right? Taking into account about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so if you do that, and then you try and open it, look how far off you are, right? Those lines are not meeting up because you haven't taken into account the seam allowance. Okay, so let's look at it with contemplating the seam allowance and you can do this really easily. I do it all the time for anything that's kind of, Y seams or things like that. So take a pencil, and obviously I'm doing it in Sharpie just for illustration purposes only, right? So that's going to be my seam allowance. Look at where these two lines intersect, okay? That's where the stripe is on the other side, right? Let's do the same on the white. Okay, where these two lines intersect. Okay, so if we put them face to face, all right, face to face like this, and then think about where the seam allowance is going to be. How we can do that in order to better piece them in together is identify where that section is, right there in the middle, where those two lines meet, right? And then take the other one, face to face, and put a hole through both where those lines intersect on both sides, right? Right there where those lines intersect, and right here where those lines intersect. Now, if we kind of pivot this one with keeping that pin in place, right? Now line it up. Look at how different that looks, right? So when you're doing it correctly, you should have overage on both sides and keep that right there is what you're focusing on. So how do we do that again? Put them face to face and do one layer at a time, identifying where the seam allowance intersects with the line that you want to piece together. Again, they're face to face, and again identifying where those two lines intersect right here. And so put a pin in both of those intersections and then twist it so that where you're sewing lines up. that'll be perfect. Okay, so again, if you just line them up whoop, like that, it's not going to be right. But if you pay attention to where these lines intersect, then it'll be right. And I suggest just putting a pin, put a pin in it. Right? So those are both being dealt with at the intersection of those lines, and then line them up across the top where you're going to sew, then that'll be perfect. Okay, so I have sewn, right, across here with the 1/4 inch seam allowance, right? And now, because I know these intersections are lined up, when I open it up, shablam, right? Now it works, whereas before it didn't. The other way that you can quickly test if you don't want to identify the center is that your 1/4 inch seam allowance should always hit into this notch like it does here perfectly, right? So that this is a 90-degree angle between this, and then your 45 is coming in right at the intersection there and right at the intersection here, right? That's another way to test really quickly, and it works on any angle, right? So long as your 1/4 inch seam allowance is hitting into that perfect little V right there, then you know it's going to be right, okay? So check out, this is what I've been working on, like just layers and layers and layers of this. Just, oh my gosh, the paper piecing on this next project is no joke. But it's something that I've been dealing with on this technique, so I thought I'd share it with you all and hopefully help you feel more confident in piecing together things that are at an angle. Okay, so that's where we are today. Congratulations for me for putting on a real shirt today. And, well, sadly, I still didn't get my hair done, so... I'm going to be one of those crazy people they find like out in the woods somewhere with a sewing machine just completely just a mess. But that's where we are today. Thanks again for tuning in. I always appreciate your support and your feedback. I love hearing from you guys, you know? So don't be shy to email me at quiltingcowboy@gmail.com and also signing up for alerts on my website. Okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.